Now, not everyone can be an elder, nor should they even be an elder, nor should they even try to be an elder. I will never be an elder. That's left my wife quite concerned. She always wished that I would be, but I will never be one. And it is because of the path that I've chosen. I would never agree to be one and be a preacher. I just wouldn't do it. And that's always been the path. And so it would have to be an emergency situation and only for a short period. But so some people just can't. And I'm one of them. So no man gifted to be a church shepherd, on the other hand, can be a church shepherd forever. There was a time in their life they weren't. And because of aging, there should be a time when they're not again. Simply because even the high priest gave up being high priest. That's how they ended up being two high priests when Jesus is being cross-examined. There are two of them that day, Annas and Caiaphas, because one's retired and can no longer be the high priest. That happens. There's a story. It's quite interesting. I'd never heard of it until recently. It's Smith of Wootton Major. It's Wootton Major because there's a smaller town known as Wootton Minor. I'd never heard of the story. It's a Tolkien story, but it's quite an interesting, it's a short little story, but it's really not a story. It is a profound parable. It's about in the town where Smith was really important. His job is so important because he could make anything that anybody really needed back in the simpler days. And the other guy that was really good was the cook, the baker, because he could just about make anything and save the whole group from starvation, turn something into something that everybody could eat. But every 24 years, they had this special feast. And in that feast, the baker would always make a special cake, and the kids loved it. It was like a big deal for them. And they'd put these little things in there. So they were like prizes, your little coins and stuff that you cut your piece of cake and you find it, and it was like a prize. But there was this guy that was put a star in there, and they'd never seen that before. And then somebody got the star, but the star disappeared. And they didn't know what that meant. And what had happened is one of the little boys had eaten the star. And then one day he finds the star in his mouth. It's a crazy story. He puts the star in his hand, and he instinctively touches it to his head. And the star lights up. And so he goes around, pretty much. He put the star away in the day because he didn't want everybody to know, but he was the star. And he became the star baker. And everybody admired him. And he could do things. And he traveled to distant lands, fairy lands, and all kinds of things. He had special operations he could do, things he could do that no one else could do, almost like miracles. And he went and saw kings and all kinds of things. Then later in life, after he'd had this wonderful life of doing all that, the king, the secret elf king that had given him the star, came to him and said this: "Do you think, Mr. Smith, that it's time for you to give this thing, this magic silver star, up?" And he says, "What is that to you, cook? Why should I so? Isn't it mine? It came to me after all. May a man not keep the thing that's given to him?" The king says, "Some things, those that are free gifts and given for remembrance, but others are not so given. They cannot belong to a man forever, nor be treasured as heirlooms. They are lent. You have not thought, perhaps, that someone else might need this thing? But it is so. Time is pressing." There's a time to give a thing up. It's called aging. It happens. And it's a hard thing to accept. There's a time when you are as strong as you could possibly be and you're on the field of athletics and you can do some special things, some of you. And then there's a time when you can no longer do that. There's a time when you get master of the business that you're in. And then there's a time to let it go and someone else take it on. That's the way it is to be anything that is important, that's a gift to you. Someone else now needs to do it later. Whether you're an elder, a deacon, a preacher, there's a time to take it on, and then there's a time to let it go. And it's hard to do, but it's important. You see, because even shepherding is not the easiest job in the world to do, and not everybody should do it, and the ones that do it should not keep it forever. And it's a hard thing to accept. Believe me, I'm right there on the borderline. I know the concept very well. Shepherds are honored in Scripture as good and wise men all through the Scriptures. How far back? You heard of Abel? He was a shepherd, killed by his brother. You well know, Genesis 4. All the patriarchs were shepherds. All 12 of those men were shepherds. Moses was a shepherd. That's where he met his wife. David was a shepherd. And one that wrote this text that we have today. The God of Israel calls himself in this text a shepherd. The Messiah calls himself the Good Shepherd. Shepherds are everywhere in Scriptures. They're at the birth of Jesus. They're everywhere. This idea that shepherds being something we don't know about is often true in our society, but it is not true in the Bible. Now, we may think we see Psalm 23 perfectly clearly. It is often thought that this is a psalm that when David was young and he was laying back in the field and he thought all about this and he contemplated this whole psalm when he was young. That's not the case at all. If you're really a scholar, you know that this was written when he was old. In fact, it's believed it was written when Absalom was rebelling, and it was one of the darkest moments of his life. Now imagine your own sons trying to take the kingdom away from you and trying to kill you. That's when he wrote this psalm. That's a different picture, isn't it? He may have not been in the best of times, in other words, like you may be at this moment. But if you're going through difficult times, this was written just for you. If you got a problem in your life, this psalm is your psalm for the most difficult times, or for the time that you need to mature a little bit. It's for facing battles that you do not want to face. It's for carrying burdens that you really don't want to carry. It's for learning how the effective shepherd shepherds you, and then to learn how to be an effective shepherd to shepherd others who are going through really hard things. That's why we need shepherds in a church, because people are always going through really hard things all around us. We may live in our little bubble and we may forget that. We may think, oh, this lesson is boring and I just don't like church. Okay, listen to me. Church is not just about you. It's about the people around you. And you may not be going through trouble, but the people around you are. About 8 or 9 out of 10 of the people in the room are going through something pretty rough. And if you have a brilliant day today and it's all going wonderful, woo, that's great. So you just sing out, pray, whatever you got to do. But it's not necessarily today about you. Let's walk through what this great shepherd does. Number 1, the effective shepherd is always pasturing the flock. It says in verse 1 and 2, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Pay attention to that. I shall not want. That means I won't ever need anything. He makes me lie down in green pastures. I got plenty, more than I'll ever be able to eat. He leads me beside the still waters. More than I'll ever be able to drink, He has provided. It's right there. The effective shepherd, here's the deal, is always nourishing the one that needs it. That's what your Father does for you. And you may be in the middle of a hard time, but I want you to know in the middle of your hard time, He's feeding you. You're just not paying attention. He's feeding you. You're alive, right? You're here. You're functioning. You're breathing. Breathe a little bit more. You don't think you're going to breathe the next breath if you're in the middle of hard things. And I'm telling you, you're still breathing. You're still eating. You're still being taken care of. And shepherds have to learn to do that for the hurting sheep too. Number 2. The effective shepherd is always preceding the flock. Did you notice what it says? In verse 2, He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me. The shepherds don't drive sheep. They walk in front of their sheep and call to them. Do you hear that? That's how He leads. He leads me. He's out front. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. He is a guide to me. And you say, I don't feel the Lord's hand on me. Let me tell you something. The Lord never lifts His hand from you. You may not feel it, but He is leading you. He is out front of you, showing you the path to take. Pay attention to it. It's a shining path when it's from the Lord, I promise you. Just look for it. He's leading you. And so that's what a good shepherd does. He leads the flock. He doesn't follow the flock. He doesn't wait for the flock to see, now, where would y'all like to go? He leads it in the direction it needs to go. Number 3, the effective shepherd is always perfecting the flock, making it a better flock. Verse 3 says, He restores my soul. That means I need it restored. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. That means I struggle to be righteous for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. This, I don't know, some people want to separate all this out into different parts, but this is just all about shepherding. If you know anything about sheep, sometimes you got to go through valleys, and there's wolves, there's lions, there's all kinds of animals that want to eat them. They're on either side of the valley looking down at the animals. That's what's going on all the time. And by the way, that happens to you every day. And you know it. You have people who want to do you in, do harm to you, or things that are working against you. For you are with me, He says. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Here's the thing. It's always teaching us and restoring us. That's what the Lord's doing. You say, well, I don't like the lesson. Well, that's what learning is. None of us like the lessons we don't know. We like to hear the lessons we already know because it makes us feel smart. Oh, I already know that. I hear him quoting that verse. I know that verse. Yeah, because it feeds our pride. But the lesson that we don't want to know is the one we need to know. That's the problem. To get to righteousness, you have to admit, I'm not as righteous as I could be. I'm not the shining star in the room. I could be better. And I actually know a couple of things that should be better, but I'm just trying not to pay attention to it right now. Perfecting us. And then He restores my soul. And if you're in the middle of a really hard time, you know exactly what that is because you feel empty. You might have walked in this morning feeling absolutely empty. That's the thing, to restore your soul. It's like when you're wore out, mow your yard, and you're wore out, and you're just like, man, I can't go any further, right? And then something you eat, something you drink, and you're a different person. Restores my soul. Number next, the effective shepherd is always protecting the flock. Verses 4 and 5 says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And this is the point. A lot of times we want to put the rod and the staff, they comfort me because He corrects us and He puts us in our place. That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about to protect you against the animals who would kill you. A rod, a staff. Yeah, I'll tell you, that wolf would have another thought. But verse 5 says, You have prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. How many times were they eating and there's a wolf up on the hill? There's a bear up on the hill watching, just waiting for you to not pay attention. And let me tell you something, that's always true. There's always a bear on the hill. If you're not aware of that, you haven't lived much life. You must be young. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. There's always a warning. See, shepherds give you a warning. He lets you know, because sheep, here's something you may not know. Sheep can only see about from here to the end of the stage. Do you know that? They can't see. They have terrible eyesight. That's why they go by their hearing. That's why a shepherd calls them, and he knows their voice, because they can't see the shepherd. He's 100 yards away. He doesn't know who in the world that is. Like, I don't know who that is. But up close, he knows exactly who you are. Yes, but he knows you by your voice. They can't see very far. Are you listening, sheep? Can't see very far ahead of them. They don't see very well. The shepherd can see much further than the sheep. Hey, are you hearing me? The shepherd can see 100 yards away. He can see 200-300. He can see a mile away. He can see what's happening on that hill over there 3 miles away. And the sheep's going, there's a hill? That's where you are, protected. But that's the reason the shepherd can give you a warning. And that's the reason often in church, members don't understand when shepherds are giving warnings, because y'all aren't looking at that. You're looking at your navel going, yeah, I got a big belly today. That's it. And they're trying to see something over there that you don't want to get a hold of. But number next, the effective shepherd is always preparing the flock. He's always preparing the flock. It says in verse 5, you prepare a table before me. That's ahead of me, by the way. I wasn't there, and you prepared it. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell. This is the future. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's pretty much in your future. That's what he's talking about. So a good shepherd is preparing what's coming, not just what's happening, right? It's preparing us for what's coming. We tend to want to live in the here and now, don't we? I got troubles. And here's the way we are. Have you noticed that we'll pray and it's all life and death today? Well, we were that way yesterday. We survived yesterday. How did we get through yesterday? Because there was life and death yesterday. And last month there was life and death. Well, how did we get here? Right? But our shepherd was preparing ahead of us, and we made it here. We need to start in the middle of our trouble believing he's taking care of the future as far as right now. Last point. The effective shepherd is always pursuing the flock. This is, I made a point about this in a sermon here recently. I don't know if you heard it, but it's the word for follow me. It says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. It's actually the word follow is a weak word to use here. It's really strange that they use the word follow, because it means to pursue as in hunting. It means to pursue as if you're going to war. It's what Pharaoh did to Israel as they were going through the Red Sea. He pursued them. And so it's like he's after you. And he's saying that he will make sure if you get in a mess, he's there. He will follow me all the days of my life. He's seeking you. Even when you wander away. Oh, absolutely. The Lord's seeking you. I've been in such a mess before that if the Lord hadn't have sought me, I wouldn't be here right now. This is honest truth. The Lord sought me, and I don't know why. He had no reason to, except his love, because I wasn't in the mood to love him back. There it is. The effective shepherd is always pasturing the flock, preceding the flock, perfecting the flock, protecting it, preparing it, pursuing the flock. These things are all great and wonderful, and they're good things, and effective shepherds do these for the flock. But here's something you need to learn, and I know I'm going to kind of shift gears again, and here it is. And that is, I'm sorry, they'll never be what you want them to be. You say, well, how can you say that? Because already you're that way about God. God's let you down so many times. How in the world do y'all even believe in God? That's how you kind of think sometimes, don't you? How did he allow brother so-and-so to get cancer, sister so-and-so to die? How in the world could a good God allow such things as this? Hey, I don't even know if I believe in it, right? Don't you tell me you hadn't thought things like that at some point in your life. Might be thinking them right now if you're going through a hard time. Yeah. Here's the truth. The best shepherd in the world can't do everything for the flock, and listen to this, and he shouldn't. The best shepherd of a church can't do everything for the flock, and he should not. And the idea that you need to be babied all of your life is a big mistake. If you think everything needs to be done for you and that that's the way we have a great church, you are totally wrong. You need to get over your babyhood, learn to change your own diapers. That's right. Go to the bathroom, go potty by yourself. Tie your own shoe. Change your own clothes. One pant leg at a time, right? You think somebody needs to come and dress you and make you feel good about every little thing that happens at the church? And are you insane? Of course not. Now, why is that important? How are you ever going to become a shepherd? To become a shepherd, you got to do it for yourself. The sheep ain't doing nothing for that shepherd. The sheep ain't coming over there and says, well, I know what it's like, shepherd. Feel sorry. Bye. I know it's bad. They ain't helping. They ain't doing anything for the shepherds. Have you not noticed that? They don't do anything for the shepherds except grow their wool, and he cuts that off. Or feed them if they get really hungry. When a baby giraffe is born, here's what happens. I want to talk to you about baby giraffes, butterflies, and a tree. Okay, so baby giraffe's born. You know what he does? When that baby comes out, I don't want to get too explicit here, he drops about 10 foot on his back or his head. Kaboom! That's what happens to a baby giraffe every time they're born. And when that happens, it just lays there for a minute. And the mom looks down, way down, bends down, looks at it, maybe licks a little bit, moves a little bit, and it does this. That's about all it does for a little bit. So you know what the mama giraffe does? Kicks it. Now, I'm not kidding. Now, a giraffe can kick and kill a lot of things. He can kill a lion with one kick. Definitely kill you and me. One kick. And it's not that kind of kick, but it's a kick, and it moves that baby. And so the baby starts, and maybe gets up on its legs, and it's sitting there. Well, that's great, but that ain't good enough. We live in Africa where there's lions everywhere. Some's wanting to eat that baby. Kicks it again. Waits a minute. Licks it a little bit. Now it's fallen 10 feet. It's had a rough morning. It kicks it again. Smells of it a little bit. So finally, it starts standing up. You ever seen this happen? They stand up, look like a table that's about to fall over. And finally, it falls over. Mama kicks it again. Now, I'm not kidding. This is what happens. Finally, she stands up, and now it's up, and it looks pretty good. You know what the mama does? Kicks it over. That's what she does. She knocks it over after it learns to stand. Why? Because it's got to learn to jump back up again. Because it's got to learn to run right now. Not next week, right now. You know what you need, maybe? You need a good kicking from your shepherd. And maybe that's the trouble you're going through, like David. Maybe David was getting a good kicking. Oh, I don't want to hear that. Oh, I don't want to hear that. Don't you teach that to me, preacher. Exactly. Second little story I want to talk about is a little boy. A little boy found a little cocoon. And it was a butterfly cocoon. And the butterfly was starting to come out. It's got a hole, and it's starting. And he waits. And it's taking too long. It's a little boy. They can't wait on nothing. You know what I mean? I was a little boy. I can't wait on much now. But I really couldn't wait on anything on a little boy. So he decides, I'm going to help this thing. It's taking way too long. So he gets a pair of scissors. Blunt in, kids. Blunt in scissors. And he starts cutting it. And he manages to cut it a little bit. And it begins to wiggle out a little more. And then he just gets tired of waiting. He cuts the whole thing off. And so now the butterfly is out. But it has crinkled wings. And it lays there. And you know what? The wings never straighten up. It is the struggle of getting out of the cocoon that creates enough pressure to inflate his wings. He has to go through the struggle. He is not ready without it. I don't understand this struggle. Without the struggle, you never get the wings. Last story. Y'all remember Biosphere? Y'all remember that? Biosphere. There was a Biosphere 1. It wasn't called 1. It was just Biosphere. And there's a Biosphere 2. It has a glass building out like Arizona or something like that. And I don't know where it was at. I never went. It seemed like a dumb thing to do. People lived inside of it for like a year or 2 or 3 or 5, whatever it was. It was a long time and didn't make any sense to me. But they did. It was a scientific experiment. And after about a year or 2 in there, they discovered something. All the trees started falling over. The trees wouldn't stand up. Now, they're like, they gave it plenty of water. There's plenty of sunshine. And none of the trees would stand up. As it turns out, there is a type of material in a tree that I'd never heard of. And apparently, they'd never heard of it. It's called stress wood. Did you know there was such a thing as stress wood in every tree? It's not the normal wood. There's a type of wood in every tree called stress wood. The other name for it is reaction wood. And it is essential that the wind blow on that. So as it begins to stand up, the wind bends it and it reacts the stress wood, and the stress wood pushes it back in place, and it blows, and the stress wood grows, and now there's more stress wood. And as it gets bigger, there's more stress wood, and it grows bigger. But if it doesn't get the wind, the stress wood doesn't grow, and the tree can never stand up without wind. It is the wind that fights against the tree that is what makes the tree. Without the wind, there would be no trees. There'd be a long bush on the ground. We need shepherds. Amen. We need good shepherds. We need to recognize that we're under the greatest shepherd of all. But we got to learn something. We got to learn to be a giraffe. We got to learn to be that butterfly. And we got to learn to be that tree. At some point, you got to quit blaming everybody else for all your troubles. At some point, you got to accept that some of that struggle is essential for you to become a man or a woman or a godly teenager. It's essential. And as much as I hate to say it, the troubles we have seem to be so horrible, they may be essential to our life. We, without trouble, would never become the Christians we could be. And so while you're fussing about, well, we need really good shepherds, and I agree with that, to encourage us, to kick us when we need it, but they also need to leave us alone and not do everything for us. not come to our aid in every situation and not help us in every way. And so whenever you need something and they're not willing to do it, it might be the best thing that ever happened to you. If you're here today and you're maybe mad at God because he hasn't delivered on what you think he promised you, you have this great expectation that ain't happening. And it's great to have expectancy, but you need to give up your expectations. You have no right to have an expectation of God, because it may be the struggle you're going through that is the gift from the shepherd.